Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show going over the movies, TV, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's Alden Ehrenreich's acting coach, Arturo Zurita.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I had a bad feeling about this movie, but I've come in, and don't worry, everything's completely fine. It's going to be even better than before.
We're all good now, right? He's acting more like Harrison Ford.
Better than A New Hope. Oh, Harrison Ford. You don't even need that guy anymore. They're replacing him off Blade Runner now. That's how good I was able to teach him. So, yeah, everything's set.
Great. So, in a little bit, we'll get into the news around the Star Wars director controversy, as well as the news that Daniel Day-Lewis is retiring from acting. But first, to start this week the way we start every week, Art, what you watching?
Baby Driver, you know what it is. Baby Driver. I know you haven't seen it, which is crazy, but you're a fake film fan. I saw Baby Driver opening day. I wanted to go all the way to South by Southwest when it premiered. I wasn't able to. I know some people saw it twice. They liked it that much, so the hype was through the roof. I think we had this discussion before, and where personally, Edgar Wright to me is one of the most influential directors. He may not be my favorite director. He may not have my favorite movies, except for one of them that's very special to me. But this man influences my editing style and the workflow that I like doing, the visual styles that he has. So I was super excited going into Baby Driver. And I want to say the first half fully delivered. The second half feels like a standard, I don't want to call it standard, like a really good chase, revenge thriller. He just made it, so you know what I mean. Like it's not bad. I really enjoyed it, and I'm not saying anything negative about it. I just don't like when people go, it's life changing.
Yeah,
it's life changing because Edgar Wright made it, and I love the man. Like I just said, he influences me. But y'all gotta relax on your Letterboxd reviews just because you want to get those. What is it on Letterboxd?
Likes,
whatever it is. Likes, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're definitely.
It's a good movie. It really is.
There is a lot of hyping up of this movie right now. I mean, I think people are really eager to just have anything new from Edgar Wright. You know, it's been a few years. It's been actually almost a decade since we got Scott Pilgrim. And for a director...
That's the one, yeah.
For a director that's as idiosyncratic and beloved as Edgar Wright, to just wait so long in between movies, also to have been I don't want to use the word robbed, but I'll say it anyway, robbed of his version of Ant-Man.
Yeah, we did. We had half Ant-Man, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
I mean, I think there's just, like, this hunger for there to be, like, an amazing Edgar Wright movie for everyone to declare a masterpiece. So, like, I haven't seen it. We mentioned that. I will have seen it by the time this video video drops, so make sure to go to my Twitter if you want to see my thoughts on it. But, I feel like there's a limit to maybe how good a movie like this. I mean, it seems like I've heard it described as pop chaos, and I've heard it described, as this like amazing marriage of music videos and action sequences.
Yeah.
But to me, it seems almost like an experiment for Edgar Wright and a chance for him to play, but maybe not necessarily where he's going to give us his best stuff. I hope I'm proven wrong, but it sounds like to me that you didn't necessarily think this is his best work.
To say it's not his best work is like the you know what I mean? It's like saying, The Godfather's nowhere near The Godfather. It's still The Godfather Part 1. It may not be Part 2, but it's Part 1.
Right.
It's a fantastic movie.
Do you have a favorite Edgar Wright movie?
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Okay.
I do think Hot Fuzz is his best, though.
Okay, interesting. So what, for you, what makes it best versus favorite?
The editing style in Hot Fuzz, the story in Hot Fuzz, the theme in Hot Fuzz, so I'm working on a video. I'm going to give you all the little snippet right here, even though I'm pretty sure the video will be out by the time you guys watch this. Pretty much the whole idea is that this man plays with genres.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead's a zombie movie, but it's really a romantic comedy about these. It's a relationship movie about this guy and his girl. I'll get to Hot Fuzz. You got the World's End, which is it's an alien movie, but it's really about this guy not being able to grow up, and his adolescence is what almost destroys the entire planet, but it doesn't. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World it's on a whole nother level. That's a comedy there. Baby Driver is about grief and being able to get over it and what's holding you back. And he does all those fantastic. But the reason why I think, and I say the same thing, I love Django, but I think Inglourious is Tarantino's masterpiece, and I think he says it in the movie himself with the final line where he says, "This is my masterpiece," right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Edgar Wright. I feel like not a lot of people can do this, distinguish between what is their best and what is their favorite. My favorite is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I think that Hot Fuzz is his best because of the theme of... You've seen the movie, right?
Yeah.
So you know how this guy's like a super cop?
Yes.
But in order for him to be the best cop, he has to stop being a super cop and stoop down to the level of this other guy to create something that's even stronger by buddying with this other person. But that means he has to give up some of himself. That theme is better than all of his other stories.
That resonates with you?
I think it's a fantastic... Like, I've never seen that in a movie. That I was researching it again. I was just like, that's an insane theme. It goes, like, beyond... Like, that's... They say there's 7 themes. This is the 8th. I don't even know how to put it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The twist in it, the visual comedy in it, what inspires me the most, I think he does it all in that movie. It's very fine-tuned.
Yeah. Now, you spoiled a little bit of your Edgar Wright video. I guess I should spoil a little bit of my Edgar Wright video. And I was mentioning, I also talk about how he's able to mix these genres in a way that keeps things interesting and keeps things active. You know, you look at some of the other people who you would consider modern comedy auteurs, your Judd Apatow's, your Seth Rogen's, whoever. A lot of their movies, Seth Rogen less so, especially now that he's branching out, but they're kind of just comedies. They're about people, you know. Even a movie like Pineapple Express, which has elements of action to it, is really more just like an interpersonal drama. But Edgar Wright is able to keep the pace of his movies so quick and so frenetic.
Really quick.
Because there's so much going on. And I think part of that is also that, like, the stakes of his movies are always really high. Because every movie, it's affecting the characters all around them. You know, a lot of his movies have to do with the end of the world or alien invasion, stuff like that, and it makes every single moment feel vital, which in a comedy, that's actually the opposite of the feeling most of the time. And if you look at the movie like Superbad, even though it has like a clear objective, it doesn't necessarily feel like vital or important what happens scene to scene. So
their friendship. Yeah.
Exactly. And I love Superbad, but I think it's stuff like that that's able to help elevate Edgar Wright's films and give them that unique feeling of like chaos and order at the same time. I really love his movies, so I'm excited for Baby Driver.
I think you'll like it because, as I said, I want to say it's probably my 3rd favorite of his. But that just shows
Mine's
like
Shaun of the Dead for what it's worth. I haven't mentioned that. So.
All right, no, Shaun of the Dead's good. I just have to rewatch that one again, and that one's on Netflix, so I should get on it. But just to leave it, it's a fantastic movie. A lot of people are saying that this is what's going to inspire people to become filmmakers. I believe any movie can have that on anybody. If this one's it, so be it. There's this beautiful thing that they do where some people are calling it half musical, like you were saying, it's La La Land meets Mad Max. I think it's a little to the extreme.
Right.
We were talking about, some people have said there hasn't been an original movie like this in 10 years. And I love Edgar Wright every time mentions Get Out, mentions The Witch, mentions all these movies because people, again, are ridiculous in hyping up a movie.
Yeah, hyperbole
There have
needs
been
to calm
original
down.
movies. Stop watching the 10 blockbusters that get released a year and you'll know the difference. Someone had said that this is there hasn't been an original musical. And this is from the Build series guys who I quote the AOL series that I use in my videos all the time. But they're idiots. What are you talking about? Hasn't been an original musical, you morons. I love how he didn't even like say, he didn't even mention how there have been original musicals. He just mentioned my movie's not a musical. It's not. There's music involved in it.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things that he does with it is that while the music is going on, you see the lyrics.
Oh, really?
The street signs, and you see them.
That's very Scott Pilgrim-y.
This is a movie you have to see twice for that reason alone. But
cool.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see how Edgar Wright does that. He's very like fluent in pop vocabulary, so it'll be cool to see how he implements all that. What I've been watching, I got 2. The first is the new Netflix special that is a filmed version of the Broadway show, Oh Hello. This stars John Mulaney, who was a head writer on SNL for many years before his failed sitcom, but he's also a very funny stand-up comic with 2 very funny specials on Netflix. And Nick Kroll, who you may recognize from Coral Show or The League, or he had a serious part in Loving last year, but he's been around. These 2 play these older New York arts types who, if you're familiar with people who go to Broadway shows, you've probably seen these guys around New York. It's just a very particular kind of joke. So particular that I don't even know how to necessarily specify it. But I can recommend it just based on the fact that John Mulaney and Nick Kroll are 2 of the best joke tellers right now, just in terms of the frequency and hilarity of some of these jokes. they pack this thing full of little one-liners about their characters and about their lives, and just these weird voices. You know, the way that John Mulaney will say something like, I was neither born Jewish nor a woman, but somehow I've become old enough that I'm now both." It's just hysterical.
I think, because I know who they both are and I've seen their stuff, I may be mistaken. I know for a fact it's John Mulaney. I don't know if it was Nick Kroll, but it probably was. Did they do the Spirit Awards together?
Yes, that was them.
Okay, that was a 10 out of 10 performance.
Yes.
Whatever this is, I'm watching it because that alone.
They were coming off of doing Oh Hello on Broadway, and they've just got such great chemistry together. These are guys who are really good friends. So, yeah, it's definitely worth watching.
I'm definitely watching it. For those, how long is it?
Less than an hour and a half, even. But it's it's a very easy watch. It's like a stand-up special with two people on stage playing characters.
I definitely watch it just on. I mean, even if you're a little skeptical on that, just watch the intro monologue that they had for the Spirit Awards, and you're gonna drive right. I didn't even know that they had something together. These two have their chemistry together is insane.
Yeah.
I saw the Spirit Awards thing like back to back because they do that thing where it's like it's so subtle, it feels like improv, but there's like no way it's not rehearsed.
Mm-hmm. They're so effortless in the way they deliver the lines. It's hilarious.
They're so self-deprecating too.
Yeah. And then the other thing I've been watching is also on Netflix, Glow, the new series starring Alison Brie. It's from a couple of writers who were on Orange is the New Black, although Genji Cohen, creator of Orange is the New Black, also I think has a part as a producer and a co-writer. This is the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling series. It's a sort of adaptation retelling of this 80s wrestling league that was all female and very sort of cheesy and broad in its characterizations, and sort of showing the behind the scenes of that and what went into making it. It's not, as far as I know, very detail oriented in its retelling. It's not Mad Men. This is just an excuse to get this situation and to put these characters into this environment where it's 14 women are being coached by Mark Maron to start this new wrestling league. And it's a mishmash of different people, from actresses to people who just are big and decide to go out for it. And what Glow does really well is giving you that sense of community and characters. You get a quick idea of who all of these people are, and then it becomes fun to see how they develop through the series. You want to see the progression of these characters as they learn to wrestle, as they learn how to become part of this environment, as they stop being delicate and start actually getting rough. And is
this a narrative or a documentary?
It's a narrative. And Alison Brie stars in it. And
okay.
Yeah,
I thought she was like, okay.
Yeah, and
it sounds like okay.
I mean, it's really, really funny. But it's also got some interesting stuff to say about women and femininity and visibility in Hollywood and stuff like that. So I think it's definitely worth watching. It unfortunately does that thing that a lot of Netflix shows do, in which they leave it's a 10-episode first season that leaves you on such like a cliffhanger-y type of moment that I don't want to wait another year for this, but I guess I'll have to.
You had enough time to tell me what's going to happen.
Right. Like, just give me 20 episodes off the bat, please. I don't know. I do like short seasons, but I don't like these waits.
I do like short seasons.
Maybe, I mean, I'm hoping one thing Netflix can do is abandon that whole, like, annual calendar for TV shows and just give us stuff every 6 months.
Oh, every 6 months? All right, so, like, I don't know. That'd be a little weird, though, because then you got your beginning of the year, then you got your end of the year. Then there's not going to be a 6 month period in between the other one. It's going to ruin the cycle.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's summer season and winter season. We catch these characters in the summer, and then again.
Sure, I'm up for something, because I'm not waiting that Westworld period of time for like 2 years until 2018. So.
I set a timer for this discussion, and it just went off, and that bell was so loud. I don't know if you heard my face. You saw my face just go like...
Oh, I saw your face. I was like, hey, I don't want to wait. That's all I'm saying.
I thought there was like a fire alarm or something.
I was so confused.
All right. Getting back to normal. We move into...
Oh, my timer! Oh!
We move into Yay or Nay, where we look at the week's news and give our approval or disapproval, starting with the shock announcement. Unexpected but unsurprising news. Famed method actor and three-time Best Actor winner Daniel Day-Lewis has decided to step away from acting at the age of 60. His upcoming film with Paul Thomas Anderson, which he's already filmed, will be his farewell role. So, Art, are you yay or nay on Daniel Day-Lewis stepping away from acting at this moment?
I mean, it's sad, but I have to give it a yay. The man's done fantastic work. He's never had a bad role.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best movies all the time, but I'd say he's got like one or two. Probably I'd say 9 was probably the worst one. But as the saying goes, as Batman would say, as Two-Face would say, you either live long enough to see yourself become the villain or die, or you live long enough, you die. Whatever he says, this is what I'm attributing to Daniel Day-Lewis, who would remember his lines. I'd rather see him go out a legend than what you see Robert De Niro have become, than what you've seen Al Pacino become. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I know they're in a different status, different roles and stuff, but I'm okay with it. And I like the fact that he's picked a certain director to end on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see his final movie.
Yeah, I mean, so he's got that movie Phantom Thread coming out with Paul Thomas Anderson. It's, of course, going to be his second with Paul Thomas Anderson after There'll Be Blood, which might be his best performance ever.
I think it's his most iconic, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I got to go yay. I mean, like, I personally, I'm going to talk about this selfishly because, this is how I experienced Daniel Day-Lewis. I can only think about it. That's not true. I just primarily think about it selfishly, and then I have to step out of my head and be a reasonable human being. But, like, if I want to experience Daniel Day-Lewis, and I feel like this is a loss for me as a film fan, at least he's leaving us knowing that there will be one more performance. He's not doing this after he's already stepped away, doing the Sean Connery, like, I guess I'm retired, or the Gene Hackman, like, welcome to Mooseport sucked, so I'm not going to do any other movies. Like, it's nice to give it one final go in a way that his fans will hopefully be able to appreciate. So I feel like this is, if there is a good way to step away from acting, this is it. I don't know if we can confirm, if we can know for sure whether or not this is just not more research for his next role as a retired actor. He spent, I think, like 12 years in retirement before Martin Scorsese got him for Gangs of New York. So I don't know.
What, has he been officially retired before?
I don't know if he officially retired, but like a decade away from the screen is kind of a while, and he was working as a cobbler back then. So I don't necessarily know if this is going to be the end, but
yeah, I feel
it's a fitting fit.
Yeah, I don't see him as a liar.
Yeah,
but you never know. Maybe it is research. Maybe he's to play Daniel Day-Lewis.
Exactly. He needs to get into the mind frame of a Daniel Day-Lewis type. So it's time for our weekly Tom Hardy casting news, this time linking him with the much maligned director Josh Trank. Trank, who was hired and then fired from the Star Wars Boba Fett spinoff after the disastrous Fantastic Four reboot, is working on Fonzo, a story about bootlegger. I think Art likes that title. A story about bootlegger Al Capone at age 47, suffering from dementia after spending a decade in prison. Trank posted a photo with the caption, Fonzo Hardy 2018, to Instagram last week, linking the 39-year-old Brit to the part of Chicago's most infamous crime bosses. So, Art, are you yay or nay on Tom Hardy for the role of one of your city's most notorious figures?
That's my man right there. I'm yay on that title. I'm yay on that plot. I'm yay on Trank getting his redemption. I'm yay on Tom Hardy. This is a role that Tom Hardy can fit in. Yeah. Tom Hardy's Al Capone. Legend, I thought was good. It wasn't what it could have been. I think the expectations for Legend were way too much. There was nothing he could have done. It was just way too much Hardy hype. I think this is good. I don't know does it say who wrote the script? My biggest concern is I'm hoping that the script is done well. We'll see about it, but for me, this is a role I think Tom Hardy can do well. Funzo, I think, is a funny title. I think it might be better than that other title we had in a previous week. That was practically what was the phrase?
Oh, shoot. I forget.
If you've seen the previous episode, there was another funnier title bet. Yeah, I'm all for it. I think it should be good. I think a lot of we haven't had a really, I'm trying to think if we've had a breakthrough gangster movie and I can't think of any off the top of my head.
The Accountant?
Which is getting a sequel.
Oh, we'll get there.
But actually, I would say one of the last gangster movies that I liked actually starred Tom Hardy in the Prohibition era, and that was Lawless.
Right.
I enjoyed that movie. Not a fantastic movie. Not everybody adored it, but I thought it was good. I actually bought it. So.
Yeah, I'm yay on this too. I mean, Josh Trank is, of course, the guy who catapulted to fame for directing Chronicle. Now, Chronicle was written by Max Landis. It's maybe the only Max Landis script that I like. But Josh Trank is writing Fonzo, which is the only thing that I maybe have a little bit of hesitation over, just because the only time I remember liking Josh Trank was when he didn't write the script, although he had a story credit on Chronicle. I don't know. I think that Trank is we've seen this happen a lot. These smaller indie directors getting thrust into the mainstream movie, big budget center stage, you know. And for Trank, he just did not seem like the right guy for that fit. It's not a crime to not necessarily be suited for $100 million movies.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this is more in his lane. I like Tom Hardy. I think this is potentially an interesting story, taking a look at Al Capone at a time in his life that we don't normally focus on. I didn't quite realize that Al Capone's first name was Alphonse before this title, so now I know that. So yeah, I'm yay on Josh Trank, hopefully getting his redemption and getting to work again, because it sucks if you are blacklisted after 2 movies.
Things. Yeah, that's things for Disney, for the Mouse and Fox to be like, nope.
Yeah, it's blackballed from 2 studios. It's not going to be fun. Fresh off of ending The Leftovers, Lost co-creator Damon Lindelof is staying under the HBO umbrella with a rumored adaptation of the classic Alan Moore book, The Watchmen. This adaptation would have nothing to do with Zack Snyder's divisive 2009 film, but rather a brand new take on the franchise. So, Art, are you yay or nay on Damon Lindelof being the right man to get people interested in The Watchmen?
I think it's going to get a lot of people frustrated. Damon Lindelof is a name that a lot of people get really mad about. I'm yay for it because of the HBO.
Yeah.
That's it. And if HBO is trusting him, and I haven't been able to catch up completely on The Leftovers, but if HBO is trusting him, Damon Lindelof, I don't hate him. I don't hate Prometheus. For those of you who don't know, I am the biggest fan of Lost. It's my favorite TV show. So I like how he creates characters. But I get you guys. I get you don't like how this is the answer, and he leaves it all the way over there. But I like how he creates a story, so I'm excited for it because that's what Watchmen is. And Watchmen isn't so much about like, oh, you don't know what the ending is. It's about these characters and these heroes and these villains interacting with each other. So I'm for it. Just hope they get a good budget.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Game of Thrones. So it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm yay for it too. Look, this is HBO. This is Damon Lindelof, and they're doing Watchmen. Know they're going to put the right budget behind it because they are still, even though Westworld was a success, they are still thinking about what is going to replace Game of Thrones when Game of Thrones is gone. So if this is another one of those series that could potentially fill that hole, then they're going to put a big effort behind it. And Watchmen was always a series that there's a big universe there that people want to explore. So it makes sense to me to potentially look at it. I think Damon Lindelof is a guy who thinks about the right types of questions to set this type of show apart from what we've been seeing from superhero properties. Do I think that people are going to respond universally positively to this? Absolutely not. Damon Lindelof, he's a guy who takes big swings, and when you take big swings, you're going to have big misses sometimes too. But I think that Damon in just Lost and Leftovers alone, never mind his other work, has put out more interesting material than most showrunners working today.
Definitely.
So, like,
hands down.
you know, even if half of what we get from Watchmen is a little bit not so great, I think that when you attach a guy like that, you're gonna get at least some really, really interesting stuff. Some episodes that are actually mind-blowing in the way that you want Watchmen to be.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. So last week we discussed the potential for an expansion to the Conjuring cinematic universe, and this week we look at potential new Conjuring sequel, set to move forward without the director of the first 2 films.
You didn't even know.
So Juan is tied up with Aquaman duties. the Insidious Saw director, in all likelihood, is going to be limited to a producer's role on The Conjuring 3. But while there's been no director announced, Conjuring 2 co-writer David Leslie Johnson will officially write the third script. Art, yay or nay on the third Conjuring film without James Wan?
It's a no. It's a no. And if you don't know why, then you go watch episodes 1, 2, 3. No, it's a no. I can't. No, it's dumb to me. It's dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta go nay too. I mean, look, if you want to find a good director, give them an original property. I don't think you're gonna get much success mining scares out of somebody else's property. You know, you saw the precipitous decline in the quality of the Saw films after James Wan left that franchise. I'm worried that something similar will happen to Conjuring, especially because he was there for the first two. He met, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've talked in the past on this show about how James Wan is definitely one of the, iconic voices in horror right now.
He's a craftsman.
Yeah. It's not so easy to replace that, especially if he's not going to be very hands-on in the project. So yeah, I'm also nay on a third Conjuring movie. We're running close to out of time on yay or nay, so let's get to the rough cuts. Quick yay or nay answers to the news. First, Sofia Coppola wanted to make an ambitious Little Mermaid movie. She was going to cast Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke's daughter Maya, but Universal Studios wanted a bigger name. Chloe Grace Moretz was hired. She even wanted to do like a dark fairy tale version, not the Disney kind, and shoot a lot of the movie underwater. Art, yay or nay on Sofia Coppola for...
Heck yeah, I'm not the biggest Sofia Coppola fan, but do something crazy. Come on now. We know the story. Do something crazy with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm yay too. I mean, we get Jungle Book, and we're getting this Lion King adaptation also from Jon Favreau. I feel like they're going to be a little too close to what we originally got. Sophia's not going to give you what we originally got.
Crazy.
Just go for it. Netflix bought the new pitch from Dan Gilroy that will reunite both Jake Gyllenhaal and his wife Renee Russo in the film. The as-yet untitled movie will be moving forward into production, I believe, early next year. Yay or nay?
Yay. Come on. That's obvious.
Yeah, I mean, look. I want the opportunity to see this in a movie theater, but Netflix is putting out good stuff, so I'm yay. I mean, I saw Okja. Yeah, just give it a release date and give them the budget they need. I saw Okja, and Okja is everything that Bong Joon-ho can do right. So if they can facilitate that for Dan Gilroy, I'm yay on it.
Yeah.
Sticking with Netflix, they are firing Girl Boss. It's canceled after only one season. Now, this is not necessarily notable in that there's been a few cancellations in the Netflix front recently, but it is notable in that this was canceled after only one season, and it was only canceled despite being a much lower budget show than something like Sense8 or The Get Down or even Bloodline, which have big name actors that have big name salaries attached to them. So Art, are you yay or nay on Netflix canceling this lower budgeted show after 1 year?
I mean, I can't really say much of it because I haven't seen the show. I'd probably be more upset if I did enjoy the show and if they left it on a cliffhanger or something. But if not, I thought Girl Boss was just like a season-long thing. I didn't think it was... I always see Netflix shows not as a reoccurring season thing. I see it as a, here's this. If there's a possibility to tell another story, we will. But I'm going to go nay because what this is showing me is a model that Netflix is turning a little bit into TV with cancellations. But also forget that in order to have a cancellation, that means there has to be something to cancel. That means that they're doing these shows not with a complete story in mind, but with bits and pieces. They did that with 13 Reasons. They did that with Bloodline, and I enjoyed Bloodline. But they're doing that with a lot of shows, and I'm not becoming a fan of that. So.
Yeah, I'm nay also. I mean, look, we talk about how Netflix is supposed to be different than TV. This is supposed to be the place that revives shows. To cancel something early seems strange, especially when they put so much money into so many of these other projects that don't necessarily seem to have a lot of attention on them. This definitely feels like a shift in priorities for Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't at least give it a second season. I mean, even Scrotal Recall got a second season, and they renamed that show Lovesick. You know,
but that's a masterpiece, though.
I mean, the thing about Netflix that's just really cool is that they seem to be doing this thing where they give shows a first season to figure it out, and then the second season gets better. Like, F for Family is a great example. They gave them 6 episodes, and that show found what it was about, and then that second season took it to a whole new level.
Master of None.
Master of None, much better in its second season than its first, even though I like the first. I'm a little surprised that Girl Boss didn't get that opportunity as well. But
hey, if Netflix can't save you, then who can?
We've mentioned before our girl Carrie Coon. She's doing things. She's turning up places. She just got cast in Steve McQueen's new movie, his first since 12 Years a Slave. This film is called Windows. It's a heist film. Yeah, I'm yay. We're all yay. Art, let me tell you this cast so far. Viola Davis, Michelle Rodriguez, Liam Neeson, Colin Farrell, and Daniel Kaluuya. Daniel Kaluuya showing up, being cast.
Leaving the sunken place and coming to another movie.
Yeah, he's out in the real world again.
Nah, this is dope. This is good. There's also the rumor that he's doing the documentary for Tupac. So if that's the case, I'm down for more Steve McQueen.
And our last bit in the rough cuts, we mentioned it earlier, but Gavin O'Connor and Ben Affleck are back for The Accountant 2. The first Accountant made $86 million in the U.S. on a $44 million budget, so I guess this makes sense. Art, yay or nay?
Yeah. Don't care. I'll say yay, whatever. We rented the movie. My brother, the rest of my family, they liked it. I was editing a video, so I didn't even pay attention to it. Never did a video on it, but whatever. It gives me a reason to go back and watch it, I guess. Yeah. Some people did like it, and I guess it warrants the sequel.
I gotta go nay. I mean, look, I didn't see it. I know our buddy Ram loved this movie, so I'm sure he's happy about it. But like, the 86 million. 86 million? There's clearly not like a huge groundswell of support for this movie. I'm just surprised. Can't you just reteam Gavin O'Connor and Ben Affleck and have them do another hard-boiled detective movie?
Everybody wants universes. Which reminds me, did you hear about the James Bond universe?
I didn't. Go ahead.
So pretty much what they're thinking about is making a couple of spin-offs to be able to create a cinematic universe for James Bond. Some people have said that Spectre was kind of doing that and being able to branch out with different characters, but I've said this, everything wants to be a cinematic universe. You got either they're trying to be a franchise versus the franchise is the gateway drug.
Yeah.
First you start off as a franchise, then you go, hey, let's go to all these other things, and that's what happens. So
yeah, all the studios want to hit off that.
Exactly. And even speaking with franchises as well. Well, actually, just to get your thoughts on that, are you cool with seeing more James Bond movies? I don't know if you're a James Bond fan.
I generally I don't want to say I am or I'm not. There's a lot of James Bond movies I like. There's a lot that I don't like. I think it's a very hit or miss franchise. Am I cool with seeing some spin-offs to it? I mean, I don't really know what you're gonna spin off. My whole thing with the spin-offs is I feel like there has to be a reason for it. You know, they talked about doing these Star Wars spin-offs as a way of giving you more experimental movies, different types of genres within the Star Wars universe, and now it looks like it's just going to be more of the same thing. So, look, if we're going to get like a noir James Bond universe, awesome, I'm there. If we're just going to get 006, 005, and 008 on different adventures, like, who cares?
Oh, now we're talking. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
000.
There we go. Idris Elba can get cast and not play James Bond. Finally. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all the news that we got for right now.
All right, so we head into our topic of the week, which is some more news, so we don't move too far, and that is the Lord and Miller firing off of the Han Solo spin-off movie. The news rocked the entertainment industry last week. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who were directors of the unlikely hits 21 Jump Street and the Lego Movie, parted ways with Disney and Lucasfilm several months into production on the Han Solo movie. So this marks the second Star Wars story to have changed hands during production after Rogue One director Gareth Edwards was replaced by Tony Gilroy partway through filming that movie. Art, what's your takeaway from this whole story?
That really happened for...
Yeah.
Was that the reshoots?
Yeah, the reshoots were done by Tony Gilroy, not Gareth Edwards.
That's bogus. And I heard the whole thing with post-production as well. I mean, I guess that was part of the post-production with Rogue One and changing it. We go back. This is Kathleen Kennedy. She goes way back to Spielberg and Jurassic Park, goes back to the original Star Wars, goes back to the Indiana Jones franchise. I don't think there's any more powerful woman. Hillary Clinton looks up to Kathleen Kennedy. Wonder Woman looks up to Kathleen Kennedy. She owns the mouse. She is the mouse. And what is under the mouse? Your Frozens, all your Disney princesses, all those animations. That's enough. That's enough. But no, then there's the entirety of the Marvel freaking cinematic universe. This is under her.
And now Star Wars.
No, the entirety of Star Wars that is expanding even more.
And you didn't even throw Pixar into the Disney animated discussion.
And how is she not the most powerful woman?
She's got the whole Hollywood at her disposal.
Yeah,
it feels like.
And it's her and her husband. Now, her husband's also a producer. She wears pants, I believe. But what I hear a lot is from people, and obviously I don't know her personally, but a lot of the things is that she plays the cliche producer, doesn't laugh at jokes, is about getting things done. And we all know the 3 instances, with this being the 3rd one. Or I guess 3 other instances. The Rogue One case that you mentioned, the Ava DuVernay having to drop out of Black Panther because she said they were, and they're all about creative differences, which is the scariest part.
Yeah, it's always creative differences.
Yeah.
And you were going to mention Edgar Wright and Ant-Man.
And Edgar Wright as well, yeah. But
right.
those happened, or the Ava DuVernay and the Edgar Wright one, before production. What was crazy about the Rogue One, well, I remember the whole reshoots being a thing. I didn't think it was a completely new director. But what's even scarier with this one is that months into production?
Yeah, and it's weird. You know, they were supposed to, I think they only had like 3 weeks of shooting left, which now has changed because they're going to be doing a whole bunch of reshoots, I'm sure. It's just strange to see a studio change its mind so far down the line. We joked earlier, but you know they hired an acting coach for Alden Ehrenreich.
That too, yeah.
Which,
like how is
all these outlets seem to be pointing out like, oh, it's not abnormal for actor to get an acting coach for this type of movie. It's just abnormal for them to do it halfway through the movie.
Exactly. And I know people kept hyping up, it was like, yo, Kathleen Kennedy, you know, she would walk in there. She did not like the way that they interacted with people. Obviously, she's very old school, so she expected, you know, the J.J. Abrams and all the old school type directors.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it's sort of like, because one of the things that I heard was that she was upset with how they folded their socks, and I figured they weren't folding socks on set, but like maybe in their shorts and how their socks were folded down.
So yeah, there's some talk about how Lord and Miller didn't necessarily run the set the way that a lot of big budget sets are run.
Sure. But they made 21-22, the Lego movie, and Cloudy. You know what I mean?
These are not unexperienced directors. They're successful, and they're successful at making relatively big budget movies. Star Wars is obviously a much more big budget than 21-22 Jump Street. But I think that ultimately there is some clashing of cultures that happened here, where one thing that I've heard is that Lawrence Kasdan, who is the screenwriter and who apparently wrote the greatest Star Wars script ever for this Han Solo, blah, 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 he was upset that that Lord and Miller were veering off script, that they were encouraging actors to do some improv, and they were shouting out lines for the actors to ad lib.
That's the movie I wanted to see.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, like, you know, that's a newer Hollywood thing. This is something that Adam McKay does. This is something that the Duplass brothers do. This is something
Quentin does it.
Yeah, this is something that that younger directors, that hipper directors do, but not necessarily studio directors. So I think Kathleen Kennedy comes in and it's like, what is this chaos where the director is doing the job of the screenwriter and the actor? It's a shame that, like, I think this big budget culture just doesn't make room for idiosyncratic directors who like to do things their way. And Edgar Wright liked to do things his way. He had to go. Ava DuVernay had a very specific vision. She wouldn't fit. I think ultimately it's just when you get to a certain budget, maybe when you get past $100 million, it can't be that one person's decision. It has to go by too many voices.
Now I'm going to defend Kathleen Kennedy in case she's watching this show. I do want to get a future job with her. Kathleen Kennedy is still responsible for a lot of the decisions that have made Pixar, Disney, the resurgence of Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, the billion upon billion dollar franchise that it is. We see these 3 scenarios, hundreds of movies though that she has overseen. So maybe she knows what she's doing. You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Ava DuVernay is not the director of Black Panther. Look who is. Ant-Man, I'm still on the side. I didn't really like the movie, but it wasn't a complete disaster. It felt, you know, like it wasn't a terrible movie. It just, I was more upset because I feel like they did my boy wrong. But it's not bad. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is that, like, we're talking about a couple different things here. The studios want to make sure they get a competent movie. They don't care if it's good. They just need it to be competent enough to not have audiences rioting.
Well, this is where I'm trying to defend her, because maybe she saw something in what they were trying to do, which again, I feel the whole thing is a big misunderstanding, and that's why it took months to get there, in where they felt they were hired based off the resume. Lego Movie, Cloud. Do you see there's a connection here? They're not that drastically different, even though one's an animation, one's not.
Yeah.
They get hired to this. They hire them because they want some, like you were saying earlier, a different type of genre to mix into the cinematic universe that is Star Wars. And then what happens? More than halfway through, they realize this is going somewhere that it shouldn't. And what's one of the biggest fan bases out there? Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if you don't give Star Wars fans what they want, then they're going to get a little bit mad. And the rumor was afterwards, when everyone was on Chris Lord and Phil Miller's side, was that supposedly Aldrin was the first one to notice it. But the man didn't say anything. And then after a couple months or weeks or whatever it was, he said, hey, listen, these guys ain't making a Star Wars movie. Boy, snitch. And then that's when she comes in, starts looking at dailies, and they notice that, according to some people, according to whoever it is that's involved, that's got the insight, that they were filming a Ace Ventura movie. That the comedy was very slapsticky. And I think Ace Ventura is maybe a little too far. But I think they were filming 21 Jump Street, but as a Star Wars movie. Breaking the fourth wall, doing whatever it was. And to me, that sounds like a 10 out of 10 hilarious movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I get why she came in and went, no, we can't do this.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel there was a confusion there. And they're like, I thought that's what we were doing, though. Like, in their mind, it's like, y'all know Han Solo, though. Like, I thought that's why we were given this.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely seems to be a weird issue with tone in these movies. That was the whole thing with Rogue One, that they were saying it was too dark, so they have to come in and change the whole tone. Maybe this one, they came in and it was too silly, so now they're trying to modulate it back down. I don't know, but it seems like there's, like you're saying, like, there's some miscommunication along the way, because what these directors are getting hired for is not the movie that these studio chiefs are looking for.
Exactly. Dude, there's no consistencies. The first three vary from each other completely. Especially when everyone complains about the Ewoks in the third one. Alright. And then you get the prequels. Too silly? Misa no like silly movies? What are you talking about? You had... I'm trying to erase him from my memory. What's his name? Remind me.
From what?
From the original prequels.
Jar Jar?
Jar Jar.
Yeah.
How are you going to say this spin-off is a little too silly? Jar Jar exists in this universe. What are you talking about? Then we get The Force Awakens, tries to balance it all out. The most balanced one in tone out of all of them. Comedy, seriousness, all of it. Then you get Rogue One. Besides the robot, the most depressing one out of the bunch. The freaking Saving Private Ryan means Schindler's List of the Star Wars cinematic universe. So why are we talking about this consistent tone? I don't know. That's the part that kind of obsesses me.
Yeah, it is a little strange that they seem to be like so after this perfect idea that they are now
limiting a story.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just, we're not used to seeing this. It happened to studio movies, in like the 60s and 70s too, but I guess we're not used to hearing it quite as often, and maybe it's not quite as normal now.
Yeah, I think what it is that it does happen. It does happen all the time. When it hits a project that we're looking forward to is when we go...
Yeah, so what do you think then is the difference between something like this and something like James Gunn directing Guardians of the Galaxy and getting away with it?
Yes, good thing you brought that up, because that was one of my biggest things. That's under the Disney umbrella, yet that gets the go-ahead. One was raunchy. You haven't seen two, right?
No.
That's an X-rated movie right there. I don't care what people say. There's some jacked up stuff that happens in that one. And I want to say that the only reason why is because that's not Star Wars. That is literally, okay, we can't have you doing with Star Wars. Maybe if there was another property we can have. Guardians! Yeah. Guardians was it.
It's not Star Wars. It's not even Captain America or...
It's not, none of those. It's something nobody knows. And that's why I think that's literally the experimental one. Which is, it shows me that while Marvel is super big, they're at least willing to play around there. They're not playing around with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And considering everything that they have coming up, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, like, I don't know if maybe like Han Solo is too high stakes, but Boba Fett, you can be a little more...
Maybe Boba Fett was a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah, that's a good point that you bring up there. With Guardians, it's sort of like, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean...
I think that... a little too much, though. Like, you got to cross the line, but...
Yeah,
I feel that's why Han Solo, they were like, nope, we can't let this be it because this is Han freaking Solo.
Yeah, and maybe there is just this determination to stick to the way things are. Speaking of sticking to what things are, it's Ron Howard who's been tapped to take over directing duties on the Han Solo movie. He is a well-established director. I mean, You look at a guy like Ron Howard, who's made pretty
Fantastic director.
movies in almost every genre and of every budget. This is a stalwart professional kind of guy. So, what do you think of the decision to turn to Ron Howard to steer the ship? And do you think Disney maybe should have considered someone else?
I'm gonna say no, because if this whole scenario is gonna happen, I'd rather it go to Ron Howard. And you know that Kathleen Kennedy didn't come in and fire. Kathleen Kennedy came in, made her decision back in January of 2017. Like, this woman had everything set out. Ron Howard was signed before they were fired. It was all set. Movie's complete. I don't even know. This is news is delayed. They had the cut already ready. Ron Howard finished directing it last year. I have no idea, but they're obviously ahead of the game, and I'm completely okay with it being Ron Howard, because you can't get more traditional than Ron Howard.
Yeah.
The only person more traditional than Ron freaking Howard, director of Apollo 13, Beautiful Mind, fantastic movie. Rush, fantastic movie. Don't like that last Moby Dick one that he came out with, but the only director more traditional than Ron Howard that you can get is Clint freaking Eastwood.
Yeah, or like a Spielberg.
Or a Spielberg, right? But that man ain't coming on. That would be insane, though. That would be insane. If I were Chris Lord and Phil Miller, you'll take it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, please.
But honestly, you can't get any person more traditional than Ron Howard, who would come in and get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ron Howard. I don't think he's necessarily the greatest director, but he's safe. And another thing is that he's like, when you talk about somebody like Edgar Wright or Lord and Miller, and label him as idiosyncratic, he is like the opposite of that. He's almost got no style. And that's not really something I'm trying to criticize him on. He's a very professional, does the type of movie you need.
Yeah.
He caters to the situation. He's made movies that are very different from one another, and I think that's the kind of skill set you're going to need to take over a movie like this that is as big, as high profile, and as completed as this one appears to be.
Exactly.
So I think he's a good choice. Not necessarily one that I'm going to be excited about, but definitely one that makes me feel like, okay, things are under control.
Yeah.
They'll handle it.
In their mindset, I see him as the perfect choice. There's no better choice. As an as a viewer, someone who wanted that Chris Lord Phil Miller movie, this shows me I am not getting that at all.
Yeah. It's certainly a situation that we didn't want to see, but it's one that we'll be keeping a close eye on. I think it says a lot about where the film industry is right now and what studios are ultimately looking for from these blockbuster franchises. But we should move on. Art, do you have any last thoughts?
From that, no, I just want to say I hope they stop firing directors. And number 9 is coming from, or is it number 8? Who's directing 8? Episode 8?
Ryan Johnson.
No, Ryan Johnson. Okay, and then 9 is going to be Mr. Jurassic World, right? I believe. If
yes.
I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, hopefully those movies aren't boring.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I have a lot of faith in Ryan Johnson, and he's also a filmmaker that's gradually scaled up in terms of his movies.
Yeah, he's taking his time.
Yeah, so I think he's a good guy to handle this type of situation. I have confidence in his vision for the future of the franchise.
All right.
So we look at the new to see in theaters this upcoming weekend. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Woo. Finally, a third reboot of Spider-Man. We get that origin story
times
all over again. This one, of course, stars Tom Holland, Michael Keaton, Robert Downey Jr., Marissa Tomei as Aunt May. Sure, sure.
Hey, I'll take it. Yeah, whatever.
You think you're seeing this one, or are you gonna wait a little while?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna skip it. Yeah, I'm gonna skip it. Now I'm seeing this bad boy IMAX day one. I'm there.
Yeah. I'm gonna, me, I'm slow to get to the superhero movies, but I will check this one out. I'm curious to see whether or not this is the launch of a worthwhile franchise or not.
Hey, Spider-Man 1 and 2, I think, are one of the best superhero movies of all time. Not amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The original Tobey Maguire ones, 1 and 2. 2, I think, is the epitome of what a summer blockbuster superhero movie should be. This is what everybody's been asking for. Give the rights to Marvel. It's finally there. They're showing them with Sony, but it's finally there. If you don't get what you want, I mean, when dreams don't come true, life sucks. I don't know what to tell you. I should be more hyped for this movie. I'm a little skeptical going in just to enjoy it. I'm not as hyped as these movies are supposed to get you.
The TV spots are just kind of killing my buzz on the movie a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know I'm not watching those, but yeah, Civil War was a movie that I went to go see the screening for. I've skipped on a couple screenings for these. I don't feel like waiting 2 hours to get in. I'll watch it in the comfort of my own air-conditioned Adobe Prime Theater when the time comes.
Nice. Also out this weekend, A Ghost Story. This is the David Lowery film that premiered at Sundance Film Festival that stars Casey Affleck draped in a white bed sheet with eye holes cut out of it, and Rooney Mara as his lover in his alive life. Art, did you see this one at Sundance?
I saw this bad boy. If there's ever been a divisive film, I swear, the people who liked it and the people who didn't want it to exit different places. I have been waiting for this movie to come out just for reactions. I don't give a care who likes it, who hates it. I just care about seeing how they fight each other. People are going to hate this movie.
Have you seen any online ads for A Ghost Store, by the way?
No.
They've been, one of the ways they've been trying to market this movie is by advertising this online store where you can get the fit for your life, the fit for your afterlife.
I'll take it.
Yeah, they've been sending out fitted sheets to people with eye holes cut out.
Hey, say whatever you want. When you see it in the movie, okay, this is the one thing I'll say, whether you like it or you hate it. What you're telling me right now makes sense. They put a lot of effort into that sheet. I know it sounds like something super lazy. I remember going into the movie only seeing a picture. I'm like, this man's only going to wear just going to be draped in a sheet. This sheet looks comfortable. I'm talking, it looks like some Calvin Klein sheets.
High thread count.
But it's what they do with it. The way that he moves around in the sheets, I saw one of the interviews that he had about it. That was a lot of hard work just to get the sheets to go down a pasture, to go down a hallway, to go down the corridor of a place. When he's on a roof, like he's all over the place, and a lot of work was put into it. So when you watch the movie, look at it. There's people inside those sheets trying to maneuver it, which is interesting because you got all the people from Pete's Dragon.
Right. Yeah, David Lowery is the guy who directed the Pete's Dragon reboot last year, and this is a much lower budget movie, so he was able to sort of like double dip with the creative talent there.
The best way that I could describe this movie is that he made Ain't Them Body Saints, I believe his first movie.
Yes.
Pretty big at Sundance, which got the attention of the head of Sundance, the Sundance kid himself. Redford, who then said, yo, I want to make this movie for Disney. So then he went to make the movie for Disney. This man went from being homeless to making a movie for Disney. And A Ghost Story was a hobby. You know this, right?
Yeah.
A Ghost Story was a hobby. He came back. Ain't the Body Saints had Rooney Mara and
Casey Affleck,
yeah. And they're like, yo, Rooney Mara, you're blowing up. We all know what's his name has scandals, and then he won the Oscar and stuff like that. So he's like, you want to just like come and make this movie like about life and life passing you by and the meaning of life? They're like, yeah. And he made it. Whenever he needed special effects, it was like, yo, you guys help me with Pete's Dragon. You mind helping me out? Yeah, for sure. Just send it my way. And he took his time with it because it was all favors. And he literally had it to the point that if he didn't want to release the movie, he wouldn't. But he did, and he just released it at Sundance. It is a home video, boy.
Yeah,
it's a home video.
Really an interesting story for anybody out there who's an aspiring filmmaker or just interested in film production.
It's a very interesting movie, the themes that are in it, but people are going to hate this because, as I said, this is a home movie that he made.
This one I will see, and I'll get back to you on my thoughts on it. Also out this weekend, Patty Cakes. This is
I saw this one too.
Yeah, this is a story of an aspiring rapper from New Jersey, a overweight white woman, and looks like a mixture of like Hustle and Flow with anything starring what's her name? Oh shoot, I'm forgetting Fan Amy's name.
Fan Amy, yeah.
Yeah, Fan Amy.
Rebel Wilson.
There we go. Yeah, it sounds like Rebel Wilson starring in Hustle and Flow. But what did you think of this movie, Art? I haven't seen it yet.
She's not as obnoxious as Rebel Wilson. I did see this one at Sundance, super close to the theater. I saw this with Tyrion Lannister sitting right behind me.
No way!
Back. I was like, yo! It's very... I feel like this is more of a cult classic movie. It's sad because Band-Aid was another movie that came out last week or 2 weeks ago, and I was like, oh man, that went under the radar. And I really enjoyed that movie. It's so weird to see these movies that I saw at Sundance. I'm like, I can't wait till these come out. And dang, dude, movies just don't make it. If you're not in the system, they don't make it, and it sucks. That might happen to this one. I'm hoping that this one gets picked up as like in the underground.
This definitely seems like a big crowd pleaser. So hopefully people will get some word of mouth going for it.
It's fun. it does get a little tedious. I ain't gonna lie. It gets a little tedious here and there, but it's an interesting one. And I say check it out at home. It's one of those movies I say check it out at home, not the theater.
I believe this one might have a VOD release date soon. I know Band-Aid is on VOD already, so if
That one I do recommend. That one is worth the money. I really enjoyed that one, and
Yeah.
I'm not even in their scenario, but I like her writing, her directing, and her acting.
Zoe Lister-Jones.
Yes.
Yes. So new to streaming, we didn't talk about it yet, but No Okja just popped up on Netflix. Xavier Dolan's sixth film, the winner of the Cannes 2016 Grand Prize. It's Only the End of the World. Also new to Netflix. And the monthly turnover brings old releases like The Mighty Ducks, E.T., Matchstick Men, Titanics, and one of my personal favorites, Punch Drunk Love, to Netflix on July 1st. So if you have a Netflix account, make sure to check. Every month brings a whole bunch of new stuff. On Hulu, June 29th, I believe that's today, the Ong Bak martial arts series from Thailand's Tony Jaa becomes available. Ong Bak 1, 2, and 3. So if you're a martial arts movie fan, those are some of the best ones that have come out in the last decade.
My buddy's going to be hyped. He's a big Hulu fan, too.
Oh, there you go. And then Amazon and Hulu are both getting all the old Star Trek movies on July 1st, from Wrath of Khan to Insurrection. So for you Star Trek fans out there, that'll be a treat for anyone with the streaming services. But Art, what are your weekly recommendations?
For those of you who may have seen Baby Driver or going to see Baby Driver, go see Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Again,
I will.
Twice. But other than that, go catch up on the Cornetto trilogy. Again, we were talking about it earlier in this episode. I highly recommend it. It's a little bit different because it took me, I saw all three of them, saw him again, saw it a bit more, started seeing his interviews and stuff, and I'm enjoying them more because it is British comedy. If you're British, you already know what it is. Y'all in the year 3017, but for us Americans, if there's one, if you got, I was thinking about it, that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World came out the wrong year. It did. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a fidget spinner of a movie. It really is. It never
definitely
stops.
Is more suited for today.
I was watching it the other day, and I needed to take a break. There's too much that happens in that movie. To put it in a perfect example,
too much stimulation.
Lil Uzi Vert's last mixtape was Lil Uzi Vert versus the World, and he's the definition of like today's society and like not being able to sit still. If you have not seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, don't go rent it. Go buy it on Blu-ray. Watch it and enjoy it because it is an insane movie.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
I can recommend anything in the Edgar Wright catalog, even Baby Driver, even though I haven't seen it yet. I will be seeing it this weekend.
The show is something that I want to recommend.
Spaced.
I have not seen it, but I'm catching up on it.
Spaced is very good. I've seen that. My weekend recommendation, it's the new Netflix movie from Bong Joon-ho, of course. It is Okja. I was lucky enough to have seen it before it's on Netflix. Now it's on Netflix, so now I feel like I can talk to people about it. This is an amazing movie. This is E.T. on crack or something. This is insane. It's the story about a corporation raising these super pigs that they hope will help make it easier to feed people. So this super pig gets raised on this Korean farm and then brought to America. So this young girl goes and chases after her super pig, who's super intelligent, and they bust through the doors of this factory and run through New York. It's one of those like sprawling adventure movies. It feels like one of those like kids movies where it's about like we just have to go find our pet, but it's got like a hard R edge to it where it's about the meat industry and the way that we just slaughter thousands of animals and the way that it's about globalization and just in corporate culture and image and all these interesting things. There's so much going on, and very few movies feel as global as Bong Joon-ho's recent work. Between Snowpiercer and this, you really get a sense of like it's more than just a small part of the world. You get different races, different ethnicities, different backgrounds. It feels
more than an American movie or Asian cinema.
Exactly.
This is a whole new level of filmmaking.
I mean, there's long sequences that take place in South Korea that are spoken in Korean, and then the movie moves to America, but she doesn't like suddenly learn English or something. It does a really good job of balancing all that, and you have a really great cast here. You have Paul Dano, who shows up as the head of the Animal Liberation Front, and Steve Yuen is one of his assistants there. Jake Gyllenhaal, a lot of people find him a little too over the top in this role. I think it's definitely the most insane performance he's given. And in the last decade, that's saying a lot about Jake Gyllenhaal. I found it to be really fun. I found it to be just about as wacky as this movie was, so it didn't take me out of the movie. And then Tilda Swinton, can she do no wrong? I mean, she's so chilling in this movie. And funny, too, which is not something Tilda Swinton often gets to do. Funnier here than she was in Trainwreck. So I cannot recommend Okja enough. Snowpiercer is also on Netflix. I'm having a tough time choosing between which one of these two movies I like more. They're both amazing. So if you can't get actually, no, they're both on Netflix. What am I saying? Watch them both.
Yeah.
That's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter @ZShevich or on Instagram, also @ZShevich, and check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplexshow, where I'm posting some new videos talking about some Oscar contenders, as well as going on some adventures in New York City. So make sure you get to see those. Art, where can people find more from you?
You can catch me playing with minions over at the A to Z Show on Twitter, over on Facebook, over on youtube.com/the A to Z Show. Got a couple more videos coming out there. Trying to keep more of a consistency. Trying to get like two or something videos out there. And I just love opening the discussion with people. It's funny. Every time I come out with a video, there's always like someone who's mad. at one specific thing, and everybody just repeats the same thing. So that's become the thing that I look forward to the most, is what is going to be the thing I get misunderstood this week. So head on over and see if you can figure it out before I do. Or just let's have a discussion about movies. I got a couple of topics coming out. And I love, that's the best part about YouTube, is being able to continue the discussion with you guys. Because it's literally just us talking in front of a camera into a microphone. It's lonely.
Yeah, we need some feedback.
Yeah, then you guys come in, and that's where the interesting stuff comes in, which is why I love this show, and which is why you guys should definitely check us out here at the Intercut. Subscribe, comment, let us know your thoughts on this show. Check us out on Twitter, because hearing from you guys really helps the show, and this is a show that, again, it's more interactive, and why I look forward to it, because it's not just me talking in front of my computer screen.
Yeah. And a big thanks to Ian and Ladin, who do reach out with comments and questions and stuff. So we want to get more of you involved, so please continue to reach out and let us know what we should talk about on future episodes of the show. Remember, you can listen to every episode of the Intercut podcast on SoundCloud and soon to be on iTunes, still figuring that out. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you find new episodes of the Intercut every Tuesday at noon Eastern. Also like our Facebook page and Twitter pages at Intercut Pod. We have a new Instagram too. You can follow us there at Intercut Pod for updates throughout the week. So thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, remember, if you want to direct a Star Wars movie, start practicing folding your socks now.
I will. See you.